Dad, we'll be at your place Friday morning. The contractor says 6 weeks, maybe 8. That was how my daughter told me she and her husband were moving into my house. Not asked. Told. I was 63 years old, 4 years retired, and I had spent most of my adult life fixing things other people depended on. For 37 years, I worked maintenance for the city of Dayton, Ohio. Water pumps, heating systems, broken boilers in January, busted pipes at 2 in the morning. If something stopped working, somebody called me. Retirement was supposed to be the first time in my life nobody needed me on demand. Then my daughter called. Her name was Emily. She was 34, my only child, and the person I loved more than anybody left in this world. Her mother, my wife Linda, had died 7 years earlier after a short fight with ovarian cancer. After that, the old 3-bedroom ranch house felt too quiet for a long time. I nearly sold it twice. I never did. It was the house where Emily had taken her first steps. The kitchen doorway still had pencil marks showing how tall she was every birthday, until she turned 16 and announced that measuring herself was for little kids. The maple tree in the backyard had been planted by Linda the summer we moved in. So when Emily told me the upstairs plumbing in their townhouse had failed and flooded half the place, I didn't hesitate. "You know you can stay here," I said. "I knew you'd understand, Dad." That sentence made me feel good. For about 3 days. Emily arrived Friday morning in a rented box truck with her husband, Trevor, their 6-year-old daughter, Chloe, 2 dogs, 12 plastic storage bins, 4 suitcases, a desktop computer, a treadmill, and what looked like half the contents of a suburban furniture store. I stood in my driveway holding a cup of coffee and watched Trevor back the truck toward my garage. He rolled down the window. "Morning, Frank. You mind moving your truck to the street? We'll need the garage for storage." My truck had been parked in that garage for 21 years. I looked at him, then at Emily. She gave me a tired smile. "It's just temporary, Dad." That became the sentence I heard more than any other over the next 2 months. It's just temporary. The boxes in my garage were temporary. The treadmill in my den was temporary. Trevor's work setup taking over my dining room table was temporary. The second refrigerator they plugged into my workshop without asking was temporary. Emily moving half my kitchen cabinets around because the layout made no sense was temporary. At first, I told myself not to be difficult. Their home had been damaged. They were stressed. Chloe needed stability, and I was their father, their father-in-law, their grandfather. Family helps family. That was how Linda and I had raised Emily. If someone you loved needed a place to land, you opened the door. The first week was almost nice. Chloe followed me around the yard asking questions about everything. Why do worms come out after rain? How old is the maple tree? Could squirrels get married? I didn't know the answer to that last one, so I told her we'd have to ask a squirrel. She laughed so hard she nearly fell off the porch step. Those moments made the rest easier to ignore. The dirty plates left beside the sink, the wet towels on the bathroom floor, Trevor walking past the trash can and leaving empty soda bottles on the counter. Emily asking if I could pick Chloe up from summer camp because she had a late meeting, then asking again the next day, then the next. By the second week, nobody asked anymore. At 3:15 every afternoon, I drove 12 minutes to the community center, waited in the pickup line, brought my granddaughter home, gave her a snack, and kept her occupied until one of her parents finished work. I didn't mind spending time with Chloe. I loved spending time with Chloe. What bothered me was the way something I had agreed to do once had quietly become my job. One Monday morning, Trevor walked into the kitchen while I was reading the newspaper. He set his travel mug beside me. "We're out of coffee." I looked up. "There's some in the cabinet, not the regular stuff, the dark roast Emily buys." I waited. He waited too. Then he said, "I've got a meeting in 20 minutes. That was the first moment I remember thinking something had changed. Not in my house, in their minds. Somewhere along the way, I had stopped being the man doing them a favor. I had become the person responsible for making their lives convenient. I folded my newspaper. The grocery store opens at 6. Trevor blinked. Then he laughed as if I had made a joke. "Right. I'm just saying, if you're going out today," I wasn't planning to. He grabbed his mug. "No big deal," but he told Emily. I knew because that evening she came into the garage while I was sharpening the blade on my lawnmower. "Dad, Trevor said you were kind of short with him this morning." I turned off the grinder. "He wanted coffee. He was just asking." He was telling. She sighed. Can we not make little things into big things? He's under a lot of pressure. So, am I supposed to buy his coffee? That's not what I said. It sounded close. Oh, she crossed her arms. Dad, we appreciate everything you're doing. We really do. I nodded. Good. She stood there another second. Then she said the sentence. It's temporary. By the third week, Trevor had started inviting coworkers over. The first time, 3 men showed up around 6, carrying beer. Nobody had mentioned it to me. I came in from the backyard wearing old jeans and a t-shirt with grass stuck to my boots. Trevor was standing in my living room laughing with 2 men I had never met. He pointed at me. There he is. Frank, these are guys from work. One of them shook my hand. Beautiful place. Thank you. Trevor smiled. Yeah, we're lucky. Frank keeps everything running around here. I thought it was an odd way to say it. Then his friend looked toward the kitchen. Man, whatever you guys are cooking smells incredible. Trevor glanced at me. Frank made ribs. He's retired. He likes staying busy. I looked at him. The ribs were for me and Chloe. I had put 4 on the smoker because she loved the sweet barbecue sauce I made. Emily was supposed to be working late. Trevor had never asked me if his friends could eat. He just assumed. I went to the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and counted what I had. Then I made more food. Again, I told myself it wasn't worth a fight. That was my mistake. You can teach people how to treat you without saying a word. Sometimes all it takes is saying yes too many times. The following Saturday, I woke up at 7 to the sound of furniture scraping across the floor. I walked into the living room. My recliner was halfway down the hallway. Trevor was pushing it. Emily was standing by the window holding a lamp. What are you doing? She looked at me like she was surprised I was awake. We're opening up the room. For what? Trevor thinks the layout feels crowded. Trevor came back in. Your chair blocks the flow. My chair? The big brown one. I know which chair you mean. He smiled like he was trying to stay patient with me. We thought it would work better in the guest room. That's where you're sleeping. Exactly. You can still use it. I looked at Emily. She avoided my eyes. That chair had been Linda's gift to me on my 50th birthday. Every Sunday morning, she used to sit on the arm while I drank coffee and complain that the Bengals were determined to ruin my week. After she died, there were nights when I sat in that chair until 2 in the morning because going to our empty bedroom felt worse. I put my hand on the back of it. Put it back. Trevor stared at me. What? Put my chair back where it was. He gave a short laugh. Frank, we already moved the couch. Then move it again. The room went quiet. Emily finally spoke. Dad. I looked at her. I said, put it back. Trevor's jaw tightened. But he put it back. That should have been the moment things changed. Instead, it was the moment they started talking about me when they thought I couldn't hear. The next morning, I walked past the guest room and heard Trevor say, Your dad is getting territorial. Emily answered quietly, It's his house. For now. I stopped walking. There was a pause. Then Emily said, What does that mean? Nothing. I'm saying we're all trying to live here. He has to adjust too. I stood in that hallway for a long time. Not because of Trevor. Because Emily didn't answer. She didn't defend me. She didn't say, No, you're the guest. She said nothing. That hurt more than I expected. When your children are little, silence means peace. When they're adults, sometimes silence tells you exactly where you stand. A few days later, Emily asked me to take Chloe to a birthday party Saturday afternoon. I agreed. Then she asked if I could pick up groceries on the way home. I agreed to that too. Then Trevor texted me a list. Beer, steaks, charcoal, ice, 2 bottles of wine. I called Emily. Are you having people over? A few. How many? Maybe 8. 8. When were you planning to tell me? She hesitated. Dad, they're just coming for dinner. To my house. We're staying there. You're staying here. That isn't the same thing. Her voice changed. Not angry yet. Defensive. Do you want us to ask permission every time someone comes over? Yes. There was silence. I continued. If 8 people are coming to my house for dinner, yes, Emily, I expect you to ask. And, okay. That doesn't sound like okay. I just didn't realize staying with my father came with rules. That one landed hard. I almost answered quickly. Then I stopped. I had learned something during 37 years of maintenance work. When a pipe bursts, Panic makes the damage worse. First, you shut off the water. Then you figure out what broke. So I said, we'll talk tonight. I still took Chloe to the birthday party. I still bought groceries. But I did not buy Trevor's beer. The dinner happened anyway. 9 people came. At one point, I was standing at the grill flipping burgers, while Trevor sat under my patio umbrella telling a story about a business trip. Emily was inside. Chloe was playing in the yard. One of Trevor's co-workers, a woman named Beth, walked over holding an empty plate. "This is really nice of you." I smiled. "Thank you." She nodded toward the house. "Trevor says you've been a lifesaver, cooking, driving Chloe around, handling everything while they work." I looked across the patio. Trevor was laughing. Beth continued, "He jokes that retirement turned you into their full-time house manager." She laughed. I didn't. Then Trevor called from his chair. "Frank, when you get a chance, we're out of ice." There are moments when your life changes dramatically. A car accident, a diagnosis, a death. And then there are quieter moments. No thunder, no music, no dramatic announcement. Just a sentence that makes you see your life clearly. "Frank, when you get a chance, we're out of ice." I was standing at my grill, in my backyard, cooking food I had paid for guests I had not invited. While a man living in my home for free told me to bring him ice, I put the spatula down. "You know where the freezer is." Trevor laughed. "I'm in the middle of a story, so finish it after you get your ice." The table got quiet. He looked embarrassed. "Good." I turned the burgers. A few minutes later, Emily came outside. "Dad, can I talk to you?" "No." Her eyes widened. "Excuse me? I'm cooking." "I'm cooking." She lowered her voice. "You just embarrassed Trevor in front of everyone." I looked at her. "Emily, your husband has been embarrassing me in my own home for weeks." "That's ridiculous." "No. What's ridiculous is that it took me this long to say it." She stared at me. I could see anger building. I could also see fear. Not fear of me, fear that something comfortable was about to change. She looked toward the guests. "We'll talk later." "Yes," I said. "We will." After the last car left, I sat at the kitchen table. Emily and Trevor sat across from me. Chloe was asleep. The dogs were in the laundry room. For the first time since they moved in, nobody had a phone in their hand. I had made a list. Not a dramatic one. Just 4 things. I slid it across the table. Trevor read it first. "What is this?" "House rules." He looked at Emily. She looked at me. I said, "You ask before inviting people over. You clean up after yourselves. I'm not responsible for childcare unless we agree ahead of time. And you contribute $500 a month toward groceries and utilities." Trevor actually smiled. "You're charging us rent?" "No. Rent would be more." Emily looked offended. "Dad, you told me 6 weeks. The repairs got delayed." I know. We're dealing with insurance." "I know. This isn't our fault." "I didn't say it was." "Then why are you acting like we've done something wrong?" I sat back. "Because you have." Her face changed. I kept my voice calm. "You came into my home because I wanted to help you. Somewhere along the way, you started acting like my time belonged to you. Trevor gives me errands. You volunteer me for childcare. You move my furniture. You invite people over without asking. You expect me to cook and clean, and when I object, you tell me I'm making little things into big things." Trevor leaned forward. "Frank, nobody is forcing you to cook." "No. You just bring people here and expect food to appear." "That's not fair." I looked at him. "You told your coworkers I was your house manager." His expression changed. "That was a joke." I wasn't laughing. Emily rubbed her forehead. "Can we please calm down?" "I am calm." That seemed to bother her more than if I had yelled. I pointed at the paper. "These are the conditions if you stay here." Trevor pushed it back toward me. "This is unbelievable." "No. It's 4 sentences. You know what I mean." "I do." Emily's eyes filled with tears. That almost broke me. Almost. "Dad, do you want us to leave?" I looked at my daughter. "I want you to remember whose home this is." She stood up. "I can't believe you." She walked out of the room. Trevor followed her. I sat alone at the table. And for the next hour, I wondered whether I had done the right thing. That is the part nobody tells you about boundaries. They sound strong when people talk about them. Set boundaries. Protect your peace. Know your worth. But when the person on the other side is your child, a boundary does not feel powerful. It feels like standing at the edge of something you might lose forever. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, nobody spoke to me. Trevor drove to work. Emily took Chloe to camp herself. There were dishes in the sink. I left them there. By evening, the sink was full. I still left them. The next day, there were no clean coffee mugs. Trevor opened the dishwasher. Empty. He looked at me. Did the dishwasher break? No. He stared. Then he washed a mug. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because for the first time, I realized how ridiculous the whole situation had become. A grown man washing his own cup felt like a revolution. For 4 days, the house was tense but functional. Then something happened I didn't expect. They followed the rules. Mostly. Emily asked before leaving Chloe with me. Trevor cleaned the grill after using it. They bought groceries. I thought maybe the conversation had worked. Then, on Thursday afternoon, I came home early from lunch with an old coworker and saw a black SUV parked in my driveway. A woman in a navy pantsuit was standing in my living room holding a clipboard. Trevor was beside her. Emily was near the window. They all froze when I entered. "What's going on?" Emily answered first. "Dad, this is Melissa. She's a realtor." I looked at the woman, then at my daughter. "Why is there a realtor in my house?" Trevor stepped forward. "Relax. We were just talking." "About what?" He hesitated. That was enough. "About what, Trevor?" Emily spoke. "The market." "What market?" "The housing market." I stared at her. She took a breath. "Dad, we've been thinking." Those 4 words have caused more trouble in families than I can count. "About what?" She gestured around the room. "This house is a lot for one person." I said nothing. She continued. "The yard, the maintenance, the taxes. You always complain about your knees." I complained once. "You know what I mean." "No." I was beginning to know exactly what she meant. Trevor jumped in. "If you sold, you could get something smaller. A condo, maybe. No yard work. No repairs. And where would you live?" The room went silent. I looked at Emily. She looked away. That was the answer. Melissa, the realtor, shifted uncomfortably. "I think I should probably—" "Yes," I said. "You should." She left. I closed the door behind her. Then I turned around. "How long have you been discussing selling my house?" Emily looked at me. "Dad, nobody is selling anything. You invited a realtor to get information about my house. We were trying to help." There it was. The word that people use when they want credit for crossing a line. Help. Trevor said, "Frank, eventually this place is going to be too much for you. Eventually I'm going to die too. Did you invite a funeral director? Come on." "No, you come on. You moved into my home because you said you needed 6 weeks. Now you're bringing in realtors and planning where I should live." Emily's voice cracked. "That's not fair." I looked at her. "Did you know she was coming?" She didn't answer. "Emily." "Yes." That hurt. Not because she wanted the house. I still don't believe she did. It hurt because once again, my daughter had allowed her husband to turn a decision about my life into a conversation where I was the last person consulted. Trevor crossed his arms. "We were looking at options." "For whom?" He didn't answer. "For whom, Trevor?" He finally said it. "For everyone." And that was the moment everything became clear. They were not plotting some grand scheme. They weren't criminals. They weren't trying to steal my deed. The truth was simpler. And, in some ways, uglier. They had gotten comfortable imagining my life as part of their solution. My house, my time, my retirement, my future. All of it had become a resource. Not because they hated me, because I had made myself endlessly available. Every emergency, I fixed it. Every bad decision, I softened it. Every time Emily struggled, I stepped in before she had to feel the full weight of the consequences. When she was 22 and ran up a credit card, I paid half. When she and Trevor needed help with their wedding, I covered the difference. When Chloe was born, I became the backup babysitter. When their furnace died, I loaned them money and never asked for it back. I had spent years teaching my daughter that Dad would always adjust. And now I was shocked that she expected me to adjust again. I looked at both of them. "You need to find somewhere else to stay." Emily's face went pale. "Dad, you have 30 days. 30 days? That's what I said. Trevor stepped forward. You're kicking out your own daughter and granddaughter? No. I'm giving two employed adults 30 days to arrange housing. Our townhouse isn't livable. Then rent an apartment. That could cost thousands. Yes. He looked stunned, as if expenses were things that happened to other people. Emily was crying now. I hated that. I hated myself for causing it, but I kept going. Emily, I love you. Chloe will always be welcome here. You will always be my daughter, but you are not going to plan my future while I finance yours. She wiped her face. I never asked you to finance my life. No, that's the problem. She stared at me. You stopped asking. She left the room. For the next week, she barely spoke to me. Trevor became polite in the cold way people become polite when they realize rudeness no longer benefits them. They started looking for short-term rentals. I helped with nothing. That may sound cruel. It was one of the hardest things I had ever done. 3 different times, I opened my laptop intending to find them a place. 3 times, I closed it. I had to learn a new skill at 63, letting adults solve adult problems. 2 weeks later, Trevor found a furnished apartment 20 minutes away. It was expensive. He complained constantly. I said nothing. On moving day, I helped carry boxes. Boundaries are not the same as bitterness. Chloe hugged me so hard I almost lost my balance. Grandpa, are you mad at us? I knelt down. No, sweetheart. Mommy cries. I swallowed. Sometimes grown-ups cry when things change. Are you still my grandpa? That nearly destroyed me. I pulled her close. Every day of my life, Emily was standing behind her. Our eyes met. For the first time in weeks, neither of us looked away. After the truck left, I walked through my house. The dining room was empty again. The treadmill was gone. The second refrigerator had disappeared from my workshop. My recliner sat exactly where it had always been. The silence felt different than it had after Linda died. That silence had felt empty. This one felt earned. Still, I missed them, especially Emily. For nearly 3 weeks, our only communication was about Chloe. Then one Sunday afternoon, someone knocked. I opened the door. Emily stood there alone. No Trevor, no Chloe. She looked tired. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked into the kitchen and sat at the table, the same table where I had given them the list. I poured coffee. She stared at the cup for a long time. Then she said, Trevor and I had a fight. I sat across from her. I'm sorry. It was about you. I said nothing. She looked up. He thinks you humiliated us. And you? She gave a weak laugh. I thought that too. Past tense? She nodded. Then she started crying, not the angry tears from before. Different tears, the kind that come when someone has been fighting with themselves. I didn't see it, Dad. See what? What we were doing. You. I waited. She wiped her face. When we moved into the apartment, Trevor kept asking me why everything was suddenly my responsibility. Groceries, Chloe, laundry, scheduling repairs. And I realized. She stopped. I knew what she was going to say. She said it anyway. You had been doing half of it. I leaned back. She continued. And I let you. Yes. She looked hurt by how quickly I agreed, but I wasn't going to rescue her from the truth either. She nodded. I did. We sat quietly. Then she said, the realtor was Trevor's idea. I figured, but I agreed. I know. I told myself we were helping you plan ahead. I know. I think I also like the idea that there would always be a solution. Your house, your money, you. That one hit me. Not because I was angry, because it was honest. I looked at my daughter and saw the little girl who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. The teenager who called me when she wrecked her first car. The young woman whose hand I held in the hospital when Chloe was born. And for the first time, I also saw the role I had played. I had spent so many years proving I would always be there that I had forgotten to teach her what being there actually meant. It did not mean removing every obstacle. It did not mean making every sacrifice. It did not mean disappearing inside the word father. I reached across the table. She took my hand. I'm sorry, Dad. I know. Are we okay? I thought about that. Then I said, we can be. She nodded. It wasn't the answer she wanted. It was the answer we needed. A few months passed. Their townhouse was repaired. Emily and Trevor moved back. Things between Trevor and me remained uncomfortable for a while. He apologized eventually, not beautifully, not dramatically. He came over one Saturday to return a ladder. He stood in my garage and said, "I got too comfortable." I said, "You did?" He nodded. "I'm sorry." I believed him. That didn't mean everything went back to how it was. That was the point. Things should not always go back. Sometimes they should go forward differently. Emily started asking before she needed help, and I started answering honestly. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Chloe still spent plenty of afternoons with me, but because I wanted her there, not because somebody had assigned me a shift. Trevor stopped joking about my retirement. Once, at a family cookout, someone asked how I liked all my free time. Before I could answer, Trevor said, "Frank doesn't have free time. He has his time." I looked at him. He looked embarrassed, but I smiled. About a year after they moved out, I was sitting in my recliner watching a football game when Emily came in through the back door. She had a key. She still knocked now. "Dad? In here." She walked into the living room carrying a framed photograph. It was an old picture of Linda, Emily, and me standing under the maple tree. Emily must have been 12. Linda was laughing. I had forgotten that picture existed. "I found it in one of my boxes," she said. She handed it to me. "I thought it belonged here." I looked at the photograph, then at my daughter. "Yeah," I said. "It does." She sat on the couch. For a while, neither of us spoke. Finally, she said, "I used to think you saying no meant you didn't want to help me anymore." I kept looking at the picture. "And now? Now I think maybe you were trying to make sure I still knew how to help myself." I smiled. "Your mother would have figured that out 20 years before I did." Emily laughed. "She usually did." We sat there together until the game ended. That night after she left, I carried the photograph into the kitchen and hung it beside the doorway where all those old pencil marks still showed how tall she had been. 5 years old, 8, 11, 15. Then nothing. Because children stop growing where you can measure them. The rest happens where you can't see. They grow through mistakes, through marriage, through parenthood, through the times you save them, and sometimes through the times you finally don't. I used to believe being a good father meant making sure my daughter never fell too hard. Now I think it means something else. It means being there when she truly needs me. It means telling her the truth when she doesn't want to hear it. It means loving her enough to let her carry what belongs to her. And it means understanding that my life still belongs to me. My home is mine. My time is mine. My retirement is mine. My love is hers. Those things can all be true at the same time. The day I gave my daughter 30 days to leave my house, she thought I was closing a door between us. For a while, I wondered if she was right, but I wasn't closing the door. I was putting hinges back on it. A door that never closes is not really a door. It is just an opening. People eventually stop noticing. Now, when Emily comes over, she knocks. And every time I hear it, I smile before I answer. Bye, Vite. Love does not have to mean saying yes to everything. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for family is set a clear boundary, trust them to carry their own responsibilities, and still keep the door open with warmth. When respect and love are allowed to grow together, relationships can become stronger, more honest, and far more peaceful for everyone. A small note for you. This story was created and fictionalized by AI for entertainment, while also sharing a positive life lesson about family, respect, and healthy boundaries.